Hello, I'm reading Evie, and today I'm here to talk. About "You" is for Undertow by Sue Grafton. And no, not yet. First blooper. It's April 1988, a month before Kinsey Millhone's 38th birthday. Yoo-hoo. I got 8 more years. And she's alone in her office catching up on paperwork when a young man arrives unannounced. How dare he? He has a preppy air about him and looks as if he'd be carded if he tried to buy a beer. But Michael Sutton is 27, an unemployed college dropout. More than 2 decades ago, a 4-year-old girl disappeared, and a recent newspaper story about her kidnapping has triggered a flood of memories. Sutton now believes he stumbled on her lonely burial and could identify the killers if he saw them again. He wants Kinsey's help in locating the grave and finding the men. It's way more than a long shot, but he's persistent and willing to pay cash up front. Reluctantly, Kinsey agrees to give him 1 day of her time. But it isn't long before she discovers Sutton has an uneasy relationship with the truth. In essence, he's the boy who cried wolf. Is his story true, or simply one more in a long line of fabrications? Moving effortlessly between the 1980s and the 1960s and changing points of view as Kinsey pursues witnesses whose accounts often clash. Grafton builds multiple subplots and creates memorable characters. Gradually we come to see how everything connects in this twisting, complex, surprise-filled thriller. As always, at the beating heart of her fiction is Kinsey Millhone, a sharp-tongued, observant loner who never forgets that under the thin veneer of civility is a roiling dark side to the soul. I feel like the plot gives a lot away here. A little too much. Some of it interferes with my notes. Neat. Yeah. I'm wondering what the connection is between the family we're seeing in the 60s and what's happening with Kinsey's case. The family we saw are Deborah and Patrick. Okay, I forgot their last names. But it is Deborah, Patrick, their son Greg, who is an adult, kind of the same as Michael. But I don't remember if he was 27 as well. But also a college dropout and unemployed. Who has a girlfriend named Shelly. And they have a son. Well, no, they don't have a son. Shelly has a son, Sean. Yeah. So it's Greg, Shelly, her son Sean, and then she's pregnant. So they're staying with Patrick and Deborah. And we're like, what's happening? Why are they connected to Mary Claire's death? Death in the 60s? Yeah, 60s. Sounds suspicious. What's happening? Deborah and Patrick are friends with Michael's parents. Okay. Interesting connection. But they are a little more connected. We'll find that out. It sounds like Shelly has postpartum depression, but I don't know if that was a thing in the 50s, or like, by a thing I mean known. If it was known. But I think they did reference it at that point. Or I guess the 60s. I thought it was the 50s. I meant to look it up before starting this video, and then I forgot, so maybe I'll look it up afterwards. The body Michael sworn was the missing girl being buried turned out to be a dog. Okay. There's the boy who cried wolf, I guess. There's a man named Walker who was clearly involved in the missing girl, Mary Claire's case. He's now in the hospital after drinking and driving, and has killed a 19-year-old kid from the result of it. I wonder if John had anything to do with that. We don't know who he is yet, but Walker called him about it when they were digging up a body. He lived nearby and, saw the whole ordeal, cops, people, reporter, that sort of thing. And so he starts, panicking. So it's like, oh, okay. And the way they were talking, he had him and John had something to do with it, but it found out pretty early on. Walker had gotten a DUI before. He was talking to Carol Ann, his wife, when she reminded him of that, and he was like, that was years ago. I was expecting years, like maybe a decade or something, more or less. No, it was only 2 years before. Walker, come on. It's a piece of crap. Michael is back and telling Kinsey he saw a man who looked familiar, like one of the pirates he saw when he was 6 years old. He thought they were like pirates or something. Oh, because he asked them what they were doing, and I think they like fabricated a story that they were pirates looking for lost treasure and all that. So he calls them pirates. He saw a man who looked familiar, like one of the pirates. He saw him when they were digging up the body. Walker was one of the people who showed up there, so it might be about him. And it was. Someone shot Michael and killed him. He must have been onto something then. Poor Michael. Nobody believed him. Even his own family was warning Kinsey that he was the boy who cried wolf. He was onto something. He was right. He saw them digging up the body. Well, burying the body. Sorry. They took the family photo album away from Kinsey, and her gran had adopted kids too. The audacity. How dare they? How dare they? It wasn't so much like, oh, you don't deserve this, we're taking it away. But they were planning some event. It wasn't a birthday party, I don't think. It wasn't a memorial. I don't freaking remember. They were planning something, the family was, and they just wanted photos for that event. And yeah, so they got the family family photo album back. Don's dad is a POS. His wife was sick with something serious, I'm guessing cancer, and he went off to a hotel to cheat, leaving his 13-year-old son alone with her while she ended up dying. Frickin' whatever his name was. Oh, Lionel. What's his... Hello, Kenny. Lionel was his name. Nemo. So the dog was found on Patrick's and Deborah's property. Ooh. More connection. Also turns out that Greg and Sherry left their little girl behind, but took Sherry's first son. Wow. So Patrick and Deborah raised Rain. You'd think they changed her name, but actually I think her name was like Patricia or something like that. Apparently it was just like a middle name or something, so. Sherry and Greg were hippies. What are they called? Flower childs? Flowers? I don't know. But think of, what's her name? Flower on, if you've ever seen the show Ghost. Or at least the US version. I don't know about the UK version. But if you've seen that show and you know Flower, it's kind of like that. Did a lot of drugs. I read that. Oh, Patrick has since died in a plane crash, though. Poor Patrick. Poor, Deborah. Oh, they'll find out later, though. Someone tried to kidnap Rain as well. She thought it was Greg and Sherry, Deborah did, as they were wanting his inheritance earlier. He was supposed to get inheritance from his grandfather, but it was not until he turns 30. And I think he's 26 right now, so. And he's supposed to get like $40,000. Jeez. But Rain ended up returning safely, at least. The interesting part is Deborah said she received a call from someone asking her some questions. That's exactly what happened with Mary, and it took maybe a few seconds. They asked like some standard survey questions or something. I don't know. Aunt Jen declined communication with Gran after all. Gran kept trying. Aunt Jen is the one who raised Kinsey after her parents died. Kinsey is reading the letters to her aunt and her... Oh, the letters written to her aunt and Kinsey, young Kinsey. It's sort of sad, but I do get why Jen declined, as Gran basically kept saying, you can't do this. But it was kind of like super sad to read because she was like, oh, I made up a room for Kinsey and for like toys and stuff. I was like, She never got to see it. Hopefully the stuff got used for those other kids she adopted. Stacy and Dolan are now living together. Aww. If you watched, what was it? Q for Quarry, whatever. I'll never get that right. There was characters named Stacy and Dolan who we met and frequently interacted with in that book. So now they are living together. Greg was dodging the draft. That's the real reason he wanted his inheritance earlier. Sean confirmed that they were out of town or even out of the States by the time the kidnappings happened, though. Suspicious. And both ransoms... Hold on, do I talk about it later? Well, whatever. Both ransoms amount equal to like $40,000. Greg ended up dying, though, when Sean was 14 of an overdose. Poor Patrick and Deborah. Even though they were estranged, Sherry ended up dying in 1986, only 2 years ago in Kinsey's time, and she died of AIDS. Go figure. It's kind of like, I think, Jenna on Forrest Gump. I think that's how she died, maybe? I can't remember. Wow, they had another girl named Memory. Might not have been Greg's, though. I was thinking it was John's, because her and him got together for a little bit. Slept together a few times. That was a fly. Michael and his family went to Disneyland on the week Mary was kidnapped. Which doesn't really make sense, now that I think about it. Unless he actually didn't know something. I'll ponder on this at the end. John and Walker knew Sherry and Greg. They're talking about kidnapping Rain for the money, so I guess they were involved? Question mark? I do know it. Okay. So Joanne is here with Kinsey. Oh, Mary's mother. Sorry. I was thinking of... I had the ghost in my head, and so then I was thinking of the Haunting Danielle series I read. So I was like, Joanne the maid? No. Mary Claire's mother, Joanne, is here with Kinsey and is talking to her. Oh, poor Joanne. Her and her husband ended up divorcing, basically because of the kidnapping and murder. Because the first kidnapping with Rain, they were told not to call the cops, as usual, and to leave the bag of money somewhere. And they're choosing a destination. The second child, Mary Claire, I keep trying to say Louise, Mary Claire, they were told the same thing, don't go to the cops, and leave the money here. Well, he ended up calling the cops, the husband did. So, in her mind, that's what got the little girl killed, so she never forgave him for that. And also, it kind of made it seem like she didn't really want to be in the marriage anyways, but she was... What is this? What's the hair? Sorry, I felt something strange in my book. It kind of just seemed like she didn't want to be married to him anyways, based on the way she was talking, because she was like, had Mary Claire came back home, would have just swept it under the rug and eventually move on. To me, it just kind of sounded like she didn't want to be in a marriage anyways, but whatever. There were certain words she used, I just did not write them down, so... Oh, I will also say, because I forgot to note this. Yeah. So, Patrick. Patrick ended up marking the bills to, I guess, get them caught. I don't know what his plan was. But he ended up marking all the $25,000 bills. And they think that that's what Mary Claire's kidnapping was for. Because they couldn't use the bills because it was marked. They somehow found out. John and Walker. I will just spoil alert. Now, I'll just say it was John and Walker who ended up kidnapping both girls. And they gave the second one, like, Valium or something. So something went wrong. So she wasn't meant to die. But Kinsey asked her, Joanne, if maybe like she had, I don't know, ADHD or something, or was diagnosed, and she said no, nothing like that. So, which, as I read in the plot, because I had forgotten how old she was, but apparently she was only 4 years old anyway, so. But yeah, they ended up finding, just making sure I didn't note it. They ended up finding Mary Claire's body with the bag of money from Patrick's, and Deborah's, with Rain's ransom. Say that 5 times fast. So yeah, that was pretty much kind of Patrick's fault. No, I'm just kidding. It's the kidnapper's fault, of course. So, yeah, that's why they had to kidnap a second girl. Victor. And then something went wrong. She died. Poor baby. Michael's girlfriend is in AA with Walker. They ended up seeing each other as he went to go pick her up. And he said he saw Michael momentarily when he was 6 years old. As we know now, it was correct. Maybe he got the week, wrong or something. I have a feeling Walker is about to die. He's telling John he wants to confess to killing Mary Claire. Of course, they went along with the plan without Greg and Sherry. John almost reminded me of Kinsey with the exercise program. Ran a few miles every day, did some strength training at the gym. And that's exactly what Kinsey does. And then he works alone, so, kind of like Kinsey. Although obviously Kinsey doesn't go kidnapping little girls, so, John killed Michael, of course, and then called Walker after getting home and said Michael is asking to meet. I think we all know what's about to happen. Or do we? Da, da, da. Kinsey followed them and prevented him from killing Walker. So now John is going to trial. Walker's fingerprint was on the ransom note, so he is now in prison for 25 years to life. Good riddance for both of them. Gran was at Mary Claire's funeral. Oh, by the way, they held a funeral for Mary Claire, since they found her body and brought her back home. Gran was at the funeral and saw Kinsey, but thought she was Aunt Jen. It was so sad. My eyes. It was so sad and touching. That was my notes on you. It's for Undertow by Sue Grafton. I don't know why I had to look at the author. And here it says, what does it take to write 20 novels about the same character and manage to create a fresh genre-bending novel every time? Sue Grafton has it all figured out. A little bit better than Bobby Holmes, because it's a little predictable in her books. It's kind of predictable in this book, because most of the time it's, the bad guy gets caught, Kinsey wins, saves the day, almost gets killed, John did technically hold a gun to her, so it counts. She faced death. But Kinsey brought her gun and shot not Michael. Michael was already dead. Shot John in the shoulder, so. Haha. But anyways, I was trying to think if I remembered anything else about the book. No, I don't think I do. No. Yeah. Let me know what you thought of U is for Undertow by Sue Grafton. Bye.